welcome to the Annals of Our War, a BXG production podcast. I'm your host, Greg Filson, and joining me is my esteemed co-host, Bretton Bestwick. Bretton, how are your annals tonight?
Nothing but garbage, gang. Oh, yeah.
So, seems like that sums it up.
I ain't repeating myself. Go ahead, tell me something right now. Yeah.
Where did the creams come from? All right. Well, anything to add, Bretton, from your actual voice or just Macho Man? All right. Okay, so...
And I like murdering little fat kids, like you.
Okay. Before we dive into the show, this is episode 4 of the Annals of the Lord.
You sound gargly. Are you being held in a Taliban hostage cave again?
Not tonight. Not tonight. I don't know. It's just that sometimes it's weird. I don't get it. I feel like I'm fine. I mean, it's raining here and I'm kind of sad, but then we'll get into that later. So, like I said, episode 4. We like to do the housekeeping at the beginning because otherwise we'll just get messy at the end. Make sure to follow BXC Productions on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter at BXC Productions. I am GT Phils on Instagram, GT Philson on Twitter. Bretton is Alpha Donut Guy on Twitter and Instagram. Okay, so if you're new to the Annals of Our Lore, we bring on a special guest each week. All 3 of us have a topic, and then we just chat. We just chat. We have a nice, friendly fireside chat, and as a way to offer propaganda to all those people out there. So, without further ado, I went a little bit deeper, I think, on this prelude to our guest. This week's guest is a very long time friend of mine, a friend of Bretton's as well, not as long of a time, but also a friend of Bretton, a friend of the podcast, a listener, a fan of the podcast, one half of the Phil and Son combo, Minch Style, and
That's right.
the biggest Arkansas Razorback fan anyone has ever met.
Damn right.
Alan Minchell, Philip, Phil, Pippi, my good friend, I love you. How are you doing? How are your annals?
Hey, love you too. It's good to see you. Apologize to everyone ahead of time if my dog starts barking. But yeah, I'm doing good. It's good to be on here. Great to see you guys. Been a long time. Glad that we will be seeing each other soon. All 3 of us here very soon. It's still a push in the back into the wall, and I'll leave it at that. Brett knows what he did. But nothing we can do about that tonight. So, yeah, just happy to be on here and glad to see you guys. And yeah, hopefully we can come up with a good episode here.
I have no concerns about that. Now, I will say that this is one of those moments where someone was present that wasn't on the court for this moment. And you and I were there, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you, in a moment, cussed out someone more in a shorter span than when we both cussed out Bretton? For honestly something that wasn't his, he just did it. It wasn't his fault. But we went after him. I still think that is the moment I cussed out someone, never been close. Like, especially someone I know.
Yeah, I would say that is, if it's not, it's way up there. It wouldn't have been as bad had there not been a flex in our general direction.
Right. And they brought it on.
Yeah, the flex really did it over the top. And also, when I was actually on the team, let's just say quite a different result earlier that season. So we'll leave it there, I guess.
And for those new to the program, I will describe it as this. There was a ball from a rebound. Bretton essentially assaulted. I think it's Lisa's secondary assault.
Should have been charges. Should have been charges.
Charges should have been filed. against him, against Adam Engstrom, and nothing was called. Nothing was called. So the ref should have also been put away for life at Guantanamo Bay for that
Absolutely.
call. That's atrocity, Donaghy style. I don't know what you guys paid him at Mercer.
And another little BTS, we did start when we first got on here. I was wearing the hog hat
You were,
in remembrance of our times back then.
yeah. Which is, it was funny to think because I was the one wearing the hog hat because I was wearing it prelude to you actually, stepping away from the basketball team to procure better endeavors, being with the fans and sweating it up. So, Brenton, there's no reason for you to defend yourself because you should be in prison. And unless you have anything you want to say, we're going to move on to the show. I think this is the perfect time to do it.
Want to know when it matters.
Yeah, touche. Didn't happen. Didn't work out the next game so well for them, though.
At least we had
the next game. Who did you play in the next game?
Sharpsville? Oh, that's who it was.
Okay, Eisenhower. Thought they played some ridiculous defense. I remember that all too well. But anyhow, we will move on. Like I said, we each pick a topic. Sometimes the topics run together. Sometimes they don't. I don't even know what Brenton's topic is now at this point because I think he's changed it like 26 times. Phil and I had a discussion on the phone about his topic. We didn't get into the actual idea of it or the actual like dig deep into it topic, but we did talk a little bit about, I don't know if you changed it, Phil. Mine is still the same, but I think it may be different than what people think. But anyhow, Phil, you are our guest. What is your topic for the Annals tonight?
Okay, well, first of all, this is just an aside here. Just wanted your guys' opinion on something. I'm an avid bidet fan, and I'm just curious, have either of you ever used a bidet? And if so, did you appreciate it? And if you haven't, I recommend it very much, not only to save toilet paper, but just saying much better life with the bidet. So just was curious if you guys have ever looked into getting an extension bidet for your toilet or not.
I have a bidet.
You do?
I'll say it's a bidet. Yeah.
Yeah, life changing.
Yeah, it's the best.
There's nothing better than a crisp, clean asshole.
Yes, and I don't have, like we're not going to advertise Tushy or something right now. I have a totally different company. But I was just curious. Greg, it doesn't sound like you so much.
You know what's funny? I haven't experienced it. Don't have one. I understand the appeal of it. It's honestly one of those things I don't think too much about, but I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, that's just something I was thinking about. Just wanted to get your guys' opinion. Other than that, my topic was, I don't know, I went back and forth on it, so I don't really know exactly how all to touch on it. I guess basically what I was going to kind of talk about, and I guess we'll figure out how to talk about it, was about losing my mom a couple years ago, and just the process with that. I was just kind of thinking about it because I just couldn't really come up with anything to talk about, and I was like, hey, well, hope that's not too dark, but it's just obviously been the biggest effect of the last few years for me. It's
going to get darker before it gets lighter.
Yeah. So, and I know, Brenton, also has, dealt with something similar. So, I didn't really know how to talk about it necessarily. I'm fine with doing it. However, I did kind of go through there to see if, if there was, because I never really thought about going through the 5 steps until I was thinking about talking about it here. So I was just kind of going through it and rethinking it and seeing what I remembered, and trying to see if I actually checked those boxes all the way through or not. So it's kind of an interesting thing, for me to look back on, because I like to think I'm kind of at the acceptance, if not very close, but, I don't know. Should I give background on her, or how should we go about it? Or
I was going to go on that is I think for some of us, like I mean, the biggest person I lost in my life was my grandpa. Just because it was very sudden. That was the biggest thing. It wasn't like a lot of things. And so my experience is obviously different than yours and Brenton's. So for me, like the 5 steps it's just different. I mean, I think it's different for everybody, obviously, no matter how close you are to people. But for maybe those people that don't know, Phil, like what are those 5 steps that, that are out there? Because this is, I mean, this is one of those things.
Some people try to say 7 now, I know, but
yeah.
The main 5 are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to go through, think about it, and kind of looked at what they all mean, what the definition of is, what they were, because I wasn't thinking about them, as that was going on. So yeah, like for me, my mom was diagnosed stage 4 breast cancer right away. There wasn't any build up to it. It was just right to stage 4, which actually turns out would have been like in 2012 or so at this point. But yeah, so she actually lived for 9 years. So in my mind, I thought I was going to be even more prepared, seeing it coming for 9 years, because stage 4, it's coming at that point. And I don't know if it's true, but there were nurses and stuff that told us that 36 months is more than normal, like 3 years. So 9 years was quite an accomplishment on her part. But I definitely still went through some denial and, initially not much emotion. A lot of the, like I didn't speak at the service, which was part of my denial, because it would make it more real. So I didn't want to do that. And just the shock in general, 'cause I guess shock's part of the denial process. And there was definitely that. I had, the last time I saw her, when she looked just, very, very different, that, anytime I'd close my eyes, for the most part, that's what I would see for quite a while. So, it was a rough start, needless to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sorry to cut you off. That was one of those things where, like, I mean, this is back when your mom was diagnosed. I was still living there.
Mm-hmm.
It was honestly, like right before I left. And so it was one of those things where, like, as close as, a lot of us were to your mom, it was just one of those things. It was hard to take. I mean, especially when you said it was stage 4.
Right.
And I think that, I don't want to speak out of turn, because like I said, this is probably one of those topics where, like, I can talk about a lot of different things. I don't,
right.
As close as I am to anybody, it's like, it's not my family, which is different. It's not, in that situation. So I think that's one of those things where, like, it was like really tough on just the situation for me and like a lot of our friends that, really love your mom.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was going to say, is she was kind of a second mom for a lot of people. So it was, yeah.
It's just one of those people. It's like, no one was ever upset to see you. That's definitely one of those things where, like, no matter what mood you're in or whatever, that was definitely really cool. And so, and I think maybe, they say this about a lot of different people that are diagnosed with like something that aggressive, but like sometimes it's just that, the strength of other people around them, and just that, stage 4, 9 years has got to be, I don't know, like, I don't know, like,
it's up there.
Like, is that like a record? I mean, that's
it's got to be up there. Yeah,
that's cool. I mean, like, to know that she was able to, go that far with it is, I hate to, but like, it is cool. Like, it's amazing that she was able to, see the people she got to see after that and all those things. So,
absolutely.
But, yeah, and Brenton, I know, like, this is a tough subject for anybody. I don't know how you want to dig into this for yourself, but this was, something also. These are 2 people, honestly, for me, that unrelated to me, like, I probably had, like, a really close connection to throughout most of my, like, life. Really, it's, one of those things. That's probably my biggest connection to this.
I think it's just kind of how you handle this thing, which is inevitable for everyone, has a lot to do with just how you were brought up and what your experiences were before the person that you maybe care the most about, whether it's a parent, a grandparent, a spouse, whatever. And, I didn't really have a whole lot of experience with losing people prior to losing my dad, which it's been 15 years now. Well, it'll be 15 years in a month. And I think just because of how, like, earnest and just like brutally honest our family is, like, that's just how it's always been. Um, we kind of all had the conversation about, and my dad was sick, not nine. Well, he was born with a heart condition, so he was sick technically his whole life, but it didn't really cascade until the last couple years. But, this was something that we were all like, especially by the end, it was like a relief almost more than anything. And like you said, Phil, the image in my brain, being a lot further away from it now, I can just visualize my dad, if I'm thinking about him. But when topics like this come up, and, I'm not going to speak too super deeply, but my wife lost her mother around the same time as your mom, Phil.
Okay.
And we had those same conversations, but that's what I see is like seeing him become somebody else's science experiment. You know what I mean? And it was very much like he was sick for so long, and then he, essentially shot a shot with this heart transplant, and things went sideways. And, the doctor said they almost didn't do it because he was so sick once they got him opened up and looked in and saw everything. And it was just like knowing my dad, he would be like, shut up, pussy.
Right.
Yeah. And
It's
so,
a little different. My mom would say something a little different. Yeah.
And I think like the first few years, it was like you really notice around certain times where you have like these connections, like March Madness was a huge one for me, was a hurt piece, because we would always take time off of school and work and watch that and stuff like that. And so that was, but like the longer it's gotten, the other thing that I will say in my particular situation was I had the distraction of one of our best friends also going through some pretty serious health scare at the same time on the day that my dad passed, in the same hospital. And so there was that kind of like divided my attention. And then also when I got into the line of work that I'm in, which is social services, being able to use, well, you're the enemy.
Yeah.
You're the enemy. But, I was able to use that like experience as like a way to help some of the kids who've gone through similar situations, like, hey, I can relate to you with this or whatever. And so I think it was just like, for me, it was turning a lot of that, I don't want to say negative energy, but like hurtful stuff into something positive. And I think that helped me. But the reality of it was, at the time, especially my mom and I had the same and still have the same philosophy. Life goes on for the living. And, I think that my dad especially would be like, why are you sitting around worrying about, feeling sad or whatever when you have a life to live and other people that depend on you and that sort of thing. So I think that that's a lot of, where I kind of look at this from. But unfortunately, at this point, I'm rather experienced in this because both my uncles, my grandfather passed away within about 6-7 weeks of each other a few years back. And so it was just like, one hit after another, you almost become numb to it. But I think that's where, and I'll be honest, it's been a decade and a half, so it's kind of hard to remember a lot of the immediate feelings. Because I remember pretty clearly that most of my immediate feelings were okay, that sucks and it's awful, but I also have my friend who's like on the chopping block too. And now that's where my my mindset is. And so that's just kind of,
Right.
you know, I just think I think that the main thing is that when people go through this, it's like, it's like, oh yeah, here's your bereavement day.
Yeah. I got, I think 2 or 3 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. It's like, well, feel better. And some people, I remember at the time I was like, I kind of want to get back to work because then I don't have to sit around the house and like think about this or whatever. I need the distraction. But at the same time, you get the people who are like, are you okay? And they want you to just say yes. Like, yeah, I'm making it. It's
Right,
really, it's like,
what you
no.
do, which is what I
Right.
just would say. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real,
fine.
but the reality of it is, it's like, no, a piece of me has been torn away, like a limb, hacked off from my body. But you can't say that because that makes them feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And that's what, when people say like, are you okay? It's not about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's about how they want you to know that they're there for you, unless it's an inconvenience for them.
Yeah.
It
Can you imagine? Yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me of like, it's always sunny in Philadelphia. Like when, like Charlie says he has cancer and Dennis is like, I'm here for you. And he's like, oh, you want to talk like right now? Like, but I want to go play basketball.
Yeah.
Like, we value basketball, So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is, I would laugh because that's kind of where I was going to next. The one thing was like, like I said, my grandpa dying was like the closest thing on that end. But it's like that kind of thing where it's just like, instead of saying like, are you okay? You kind of want to see someone text you back, be like, that sucks. Like, as harsh as that sounds, like instead of saying like, that's okay or anything like that. And, like when your dad died, Brent, I mean, like, I can remember that day clear as anything. I can remember that better than I can remember what I had for breakfast. And I just like, and Phil, when you told me about your own mom, it's like the same thing. I can like literally picture myself in both those scenarios. And it's like that, as close as they were, still wasn't family. But the one thing that I had to think about this and, all these you think about the worst case scenarios when you talk about this topic, Phil. And for me, and I'm not saying this is the route that anyone should go. I'm just saying for me, if something like humor would be my first thing. It would be the very, like, if something, like it's just all these things, but like if something happened to my mom or somebody close to me, I think the first thing I would do is think of something funny to say, which is like, sounds awful, but I don't have another reflex. Like when bad things happen to me, the first thing I think about is like, what's the joke that I can say? Because you try to use the joke to take away the pressure of reality.
Well,
and for me, that would be my first thing.
When I finally got to tell Ty, we sat on because, Greg and you and Ty were like my dad's two of his other kids, basically. And we just sat on the front porch of Ty's house and we were both crying. And the first thing he said was, and that Gary Beatty in that fucking bus. And it was like, right. And that's obviously super inside baseball, but like that was a moment of like, yeah, fuck that.
That's
guy.
what I said to you because I was working at the paper and I said, I'm going to go look for the bus now. Like that was the thing I said to you. I'm working in record orders. I'm literally a mile away from that place. And that's like the first thing I could think of. And I did, like I drove around that campus, and, when you told me, I was just like, I mean, I didn't make any like actual jokes, but it was just like one of those things where I was just like, and this is the way I always think when anybody tells me anything like this, I hope I respond in a way that didn't seem like I was like and for lack of a better term, like a douchebag about it, because I'm one of those few really lucky people that hasn't lost a lot. Like I've lost a lot of family members. Don't get me wrong. Like I grew up like going to funerals. It felt like every 6 months. I had so many old family, but I didn't know these people.
Sure.
So it was just I got used to going to funerals. that's how accustomed it was in our family. It was like, you kind of got used to it. You're just like, all right, we'll go, and that's it. But it was never someone like extremely, extremely close. And then, a couple other people that were closer in my life started happening. And I was like, and I'll be honest, like, I still don't know how to handle that kind of news. And so for me, like I said, humor is the only route I know, because humor is it's the only way I can combat negative things is to be funny. And it's like, if I've ever been crass about that, it's literally my only reflex. I have nothing else. I'm the dark person that's just like, let me make a joke about something.
Well, and I definitely have that same reflex from growing up. I was, I wrote a song. I won't go into the details of it one time. That was pretty dark. That was, making jokes about stuff that was very similar, dark humor. But that's what basically we did, though, was like going through mom's photos, doing all that stuff. I mean, we would just tell the funny stories and laugh. That was the best,
Yeah.
And for me, it was more like when I'd get emotional, it'd be when I was by myself. Like, when I was around other people, I wouldn't show it as much for quite a while.
Yeah. I think that, I feel like, and that's one of those things where it's like, when Brittany, like, it's a unique experience, and you, like said, the way you were brought up was different, like, and then probably like other people, where it's just like, I mean, your family very crass, and I mean that in the best possible way. So honestly, dude, it's like, I literally mean that. And it's like, with my mom and I, it's like always been humor. Like, one of us could like lose a job, or and we would make a joke first. It'd be like, I lost my job. Here's the funny story behind it, or something. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like, it's that absolute reflex of like, because and I kind of live by this, where it's like, if you're not laughing, you're probably crying.
Mhm.
And with most things in life. And so like, Ty, among other people, have always said it always looks like I'm up to something because I always have a smile on my face. So it's like, I always have kind of a smile on my face, because otherwise I'm probably like pissed off about something, or, and so that's part of it too. And so I get that. It's like, I mean, lots is just that thing where like we all handle it differently, but I feel, and like I said, I feel like the best way is kind of what you said, Phil. It's try to make the best, and I hate saying that word, but try to make the best of it, and then in your own time reflect. And whether you believe in God or whatever you believe in, or don't believe in anything, you have your moment there, and then come to terms with it that way, because it's just, I don't think things make it better if you are just trying to be sad about everything, because I think at the end of the day, it just makes you sadder. And so, like you said, looking back at photos, and I remember like texting you about something, like, just, it was, kind of in the middle of there, and just talking about the time that we like, slid down your steps outside instead of working on a report. And your mom like, you guys need to be working on your report. And you're like, no, we are.
Yeah.
And it's just like one of those like funny moments about your mom being like mad at us.
Or the prank
is
when
it
we
like-
pretended to throw Dan off the roof.
Right, and that was my next thing, the prank
Yeah.
of throwing like fake Dan off the roof and stuff like that, when we actually had like stuff to do. And like your mom being mad at us, and we know, of course, what that means is like she's just trying to be mad at us, but she can't honestly be mad because we were goofing off. And those are the moments that I think of. And then with Brenton, it's just, the biggest thing I always think about when I think about your dad, Brenton, is anytime I'm driving towards something where it's raining, I always go, let's go over there.
Now we're going over here.
And we're going that way. Yeah. And it's just, or the fireworks. You guys seen fireworks before? Let's get the hell out of here. So it's just those moments. I think that, that's what I look at. And maybe like I said, maybe someone's going to listen back to this and be like, Greg is an asshole because he always relates to humor. And yeah, I probably am.
Not to me. Yeah. I think that's perfectly fine. That's my dark humor generally is some of my favorite personally.
Sure.
Yeah. Speaking of,
I'll do a little final round here.
Okay.
And so Phil, any like final thoughts on just this discussion? We'll do a final round at the very end here, but any final thoughts, something maybe I missed or you want to add in?
Um, not a ton. I was just gonna say, like for me, like at the end here, why I feel like I maybe got to that acceptance was just starting to be more open, with my friends and their families, instead of staying at home locked up, by myself so much. And then when I think about her, like Brenton, I think did mention earlier, I don't see that anymore. I see her normal again, but it took a while. And so, I did get to that, which is good. I mean, if I really, I mean, it'll still come to me if I, try to access. But I was also lucky. We cremated her, so there was no viewing, which for me, I was very happy about. And then the service, I'll out myself as not being religious, even though my parents were missionaries. So, yeah, I didn't really want to do a service where we're doing prayers and, worshiping. I wanted to say goodbye to my mom. So that was a little rough. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot else. I will say though, drank a little bit too much as well, I would say is a very fair thing to say during that time period, but
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's for anyone, like whenever your vice is at that time, probably just gets amped up, even if it's a smaller vice. Brenton, any final thoughts, takeaways?
I just, when my dad passed, my mom or Melissa said of my mom, just so you know, alcohol is not the answer. And my mom said, you don't even know what the question is.
I like that.
No, but I think about that and like, oh my God, like this was like, see, we did a viewing and even that was funny. Well, number one, we had Cunningham's in my hometown do the service and, Greg Cunningham, who I have a ton of admiration and respect for, but you want to talk about dark sense of humor. But
doing that job, you have to, don't you?
Well, yeah, you're either really funny or you're just a fucking weirdo. And Greg is really funny. And I said, Greg, I really appreciate the job you did. And he said, well, we try to put the fun in funeral. And just thinking about like, it's funny to me because, or it was especially at the time funny to me because you think people like know you and your family, and then it's like people are like bringing you blankets with Bible verses on them and stuff like that. And I can just imagine,
nice one, Greg.
Seriously, I could just imagine what my dad would have said about all that. Like, are you kidding me?
Some good time on that damn quilt, Brenton.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I tell you what, though, that's the one thing I will say is because I thoughts and prayers, man. While you're in our prayers, you could make me a sandwich, like at least do something that's useful.
Make me a sandwich. Yeah.
I was going to say I tried to think about like bargaining, as part of the steps, and I was like, no, I didn't really do that because I didn't think it would do anything. Like most people, it's like trying to make
I'll do anything. It's like well. People say, and it's like, oh, we're going to pray for you. It's like, oh, well, thanks for not doing anything. You're just telling me, like, oh, thanks for, like, hey, we're not going to do anything. That's how I hear that.
As something that just happened the other day, I have signs on both my doors saying no Jehovah Witnesses because I keep getting mail left to my mailbox from them, and they've tried showing up a few times. So there was a pastor did come to my door the other day, but wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. So he did force me to come to the door. Then he said, I don't like them either. So
yeah, I'll tell you one real quick one. This is a Bob story. So this is when I was little, but he had like a Ford Pinto or something back in the 80s, whatever, that made this awful noise because the exhaust was fucked up. And when we lived in Grove City before we moved to Mercer, my mom used to do the laundry on like an outside line, like a clothes hanger.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she said that they cornered her outside with their white shirts and their black ties and their little red cookbook, and she knew. She was like, well, it's about time for Bob to be home from work. I'll hear that Pinto any minute now, and he'll come save me. He just kept circling the block
Yeah, wait for them to
until
leave.
they left, and every time would just wave like the asshole he was.
I've never heard that story.
Oh my, yeah, that's a good one.
Well, I don't know how to transition because I don't know your topic, Brent.
Yeah,
So we'll go from that, which
right.
I ultimately ended with a great laugh. So
Yeah.
Brenton, what is your topic?
I felt like when you sent me yours and Phil's, I felt like, okay, this is gonna be another one like the one with Barry where it gets real heavy. So I felt like it's my responsibility to keep this with a little bit of levity. Okay.
Okay.
So you're on vacation. You can pick anywhere in the world. You're on vacation. I think that that's important where you pick. Okay. Because that's gonna play into the ramifications likely of this scenario. So you're on vacation. You get off the plane, or you drive, whatever. And you go to you check in at the hotel lobby, and you go up to your room, and you unlock the door, and there's a dead body. What do you do?
No, you're our guest.
And this is depending on where my favorite vacation spot would be as well.
I think that it matters because like
It does matter, yeah.
if it's just if you're just in Virginia Beach, it's just like, oh hey, the cleaning ladies missed something. But if you're in like Barcelona,
Yeah.
it's like, senor.
Yeah. I would start speaking like fake Spanish like we did in high school, Greg, and just end every English word with the almost.
Almost.
Almost, yeah. And you get things done that way.
But well, for me, to follow up on my intro, I've already done mine, and I it's now an annual. I go to Fayetteville, Arkansas as my destination. So I would first call the hogs once I found the body, and I would check to see what team, if they were wearing a team logo. But yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of what's a funny way to go with it, because obviously what I would do is call the cops and say there's a dead body in my room. But should I go, with what's the old movie? Weekend at Bernie's?
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
That also would be fun. But yeah, I definitely would be like, I'm not staying here.
Why not?
Well, I guess I would stay in a different room, maybe, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
The ghost would follow you.
Also get the blue light out, and I would check to see if any foul play had happened.
It did.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, there was foul play and murder, but in an order that might surprise you.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. I like this, but it is a hard one to answer. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just take the top. I guess I would just take the top out. Yeah, I mean, I would just probably go right to the front desk and be like, "Hey, there's a dead body in my room." And then, yeah, like I just checked in.
Greg?
I think the thing
Because Greg, here's the thing I know about you. Calm under pressure, not your forte. No. Easily panic. Easily panic.
This is the thing about me. Easily panic, but like I hide it well. Like I have a heart rate going 100,000 beats a minute, so I can like get through it. But all I'm thinking about, and it's not even like the easily panic. I'm just like, like, did I do this? This is what happened. I'll go in there and be like,
you'd make yourself a suspect, huh?
You would just start touching shit and
kind of like, what did I do? And now I'm like, oh my god,
look, a bloody knife.
yeah.
I was going to do a follow-up question to ask, had we been there before, like in that room?
Sure.
All right, then we did have some
That's
shirts and stuff.
Okay, so I looked at this as we get to our vacation spot. I'm in Monaco. I went to the F1 race and I'm hanging out on my yacht. And then I come back to the hotel that I had already checked
Dead
into.
body on your yacht.
Maybe. But
Yeah.
it's a place that I've already been into, and then I left, and now there's a dead body. So now I am there's a possibility of a suspect. So that's where I took it. And so yes, panic ensues. This is a funny thing. Like I exude this thing where I am super calm. Like when a certain event happened to me in the last couple of months, I took that much easier in the moment than I ever thought I would. And so I'll tell you after the show, a little cliffhanger for the post show. But what happens though is I have this thing racing through me like I just like a mouse on a wheel. It goes nuts. And so I think of all the worst possible things constantly. That's how I like to go through my life, is thinking of all the worst possible scenarios. And so for me, I would see that dead body, and then I would be like, I have sleptwalked before. Shit. That would be like the first thing that would come to my mind, that like I definitely killed this person and now I have to get out of it. So I think my reaction would be to have some sort of person around come into my room and then be like, can you just grab that knife for me?
To make them an accessory.
Yeah, exactly. And that way, they're like, hey, like you tuck the person under your bed, and then
You tuck the person under your bed.
Yeah, you tuck the person under the.
You get the new person to touch stuff, then you kill that person, and you stick them under the.
Yeah, exactly. So you might as well go big, is my point here. Because you're already suspect one. It's your room. You've been there for a day and a half. You know, there's a video of you at this nice, restaurant where maybe you've had a few beverages, and then they like do something on your bill and you're shouting at someone. You're like, well, he's full of rage.
Yeah, Arkansas just lost, and they find somebody from the prison.
This weirdly goes into my topic, which it's funny, but so yeah, I think I would just go I think I would go will hunting and just keep going. Just keep killing people. That bad boy,
even though you hadn't actually, you would convince yourself that you had done this.
I would have convinced, at this point, I would have convinced myself I did it. It was the sleepwalking maneuver, and I did it.
Is that the thing? As you get a knife out, like as you sleepwalk?
And I'm just deepening the plot of this. So the waiter that I yelled at, not that I ever would yell at a waiter, it's that person. Oh, it's even deeper. I would never yell at anyone at the restaurant. It's a tough job. But let's just say that this is the scenario. This is that show.
Well, you fall asleep briefly while you're at the restaurant.
Exactly. And so it's the show on FX that I need to write with Ryan Murphy. And so while I sleepwalk, I go back to the restaurant. I convince this gentleman that I want to share a bottle of wine with him, and then I kill him in my sleep. And this is what has happened. This is what I convinced myself. It didn't actually happen. Obviously, somebody else has killed him, but I have done this. I've convinced him. I've convinced myself that I convinced him to come back, and I killed him just in a very brutal manner. So
my favorite.
I think it was going there. I'm a storyteller. If there's anything, I can tell a story. I can spin it.
Yeah, Murphy might like it. You might have something.
Yeah, he's probably one of the 20 people that listen.
I can tell you who else listens, and you know who you are. My favorite vacation destination is Disney. So the odds of this being the dead body being like a Disney theme.
Cinderella.
I was gonna go Mickey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mickey, listen, this is what happened. This is the scene that I discover is Mickey and Minnie.
Oh,
A lust-filled murder suicide. Oh boy, man. Oh, Mickey. Got a knife in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? I'll tell you what's gonna be wild when all these characters. I mean, we saw what happened with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. When all these other characters get like released into public domain here in the next couple years, there's gonna be something.
Oh yeah, Mickey didn't get released public domain.
What is it, like 100 years? Is it 100 years?
Yeah. So it's because he was that other guy. He was like the Steamboat Willie.
Well, no, he's still Mickey Mouse in that. Mickey Mouse's first thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like that was
1928.
his first. Yeah. So we're almost through that.
Pat McAfee said Mickey Mouse.
So Brian, what do you do? Like I contrived it where I've actually just go in a murdering and spree myself. I become the major canal bar.
Yeah, but I was looking to see how many years before public domain a general rule or works created after lasts for life of the author plus 70 years. So when did Walt Disney die? At 70. I don't know. That's neither here nor there. What would I do? I mean, it's an easy. You just call the police.
Yeah.
I don't know why you made it such a big deal, Greg.
I thought it wasn't entertaining enough. My answer as well. But yeah.
I'm glad I spent.
I feel like I would have to like try to solve the mystery.
There's
there's like a Scooby-Doo element to it. Like you walk in and you see it, it's like, oh, zoinks,
It's crazy that Walt Disney only lived to 65, but he's preserved, so he can come back.
Well, just part of him. Part of him's preserved.
Yeah.
What happens when we all upload our consciousness to the cloud? That's a different topic for a completely different episode.
Yeah, well, that's a good topic, though. We will have that as a topic.
Yeah.
So final thoughts on what we do with a dead body, other than I'm just killing everyone.
Just fuck it. Here's my excuse to go on a murder rampage.
I thought you might just burn the place down, but now you're just going to keep going.
I just light the city on fire. That's a cool way to go. I didn't even say what my vacation spot is.
Yeah, you said Monaco.
I did say Monaco. That's right. So I just burned Monaco to the ground. That's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's my favorite vacation place, and it's kind of cool. I burned it down.
Like there's a multi-billion-dollar extravagant thing, and I'm just standing there, like smoking a cigar, watching it burn to the ground. That's sick on my yacht with 7 dead bodies.
And you're what is it? Is it Jordan Belfort? Is that who you are now?
Yeah, Jordan Belfort at that place. Like I'm the Wolf of Wall Street, just chilling.
Plot twist: the dead body's a hooker.
I don't have that kind of energy to go in, and that's the thing. As a joker, I don't have that kind of energy. These serial killers got a lot of energy.
There's 5 bodies dissolving in a tub in Hell's Kitchen.
I do not have that kind of energy. That's why they use cocaine.
Tell you what, man, I saw a good meme where it was like those glasses. You know the ones.
Yeah.
Those glasses. It was like, man, serial killers saw those things and are like, these are fire.
These are fire. They're amazing.
All right. Moving on. I thought I would just try to do something a little lighter.
My topic is actually light. Mine was things you can't control, but it's actually silly things we can't control. It isn't like important things. So right now, and I didn't plan this, of course, it is raining here. And it makes me angry. Very angry. Like I am holding back anger. Because it's June, it's Southern California. This was supposed to be a place
we can use rain here.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Sure, there you go. And so, like, we used to be able to use, like, that was our thing. That was the California tradition of, like, the 10 years I've been here. It's like, we need rain. And now all we get is
Forest fires right now.
we're preventing forest fires. But I don't fucking care because I want, and it's the thing, like, everyone's, oh, well, like, this is May gray. Now we're into June gloom. And it's like, honestly, I've had one of those seasons the entire time in my 10 years here. So 10% of the time. And it's this year. It's this fucking year. And I can't deal with it. And now I've become obsessed with looking at the weather forecast. And I have 2 weather apps on my phone. I used to have 5. I deleted the other 3 because I just couldn't stand it anymore. But I constantly check all the apps on my computer screen. So that is my first thing where, like, weather just pisses me off because, like, not that it isn't the sole reason I moved here, but, like, that's part of the perks of living in Southern California. It's beautiful, but it isn't. It's gray. It's not like, it's not cold, but it's cold for here right now. And I just want it to be sunny and beautiful for my own enjoyment. And then the other thing, which is why I have this background, is, and this actually comes from something else, like another sport, but sports, because all of us have our teams that we actively, at least a team that we actively care so much about. But my actual topic on that was there's also teams we don't care about that we still get actively angry about, and we also have no control of that. So for me, it is the Boston Celtics.
Like,
Yeah, I know. I'm very aware.
Brent knows as well. I just can't stand that team. Even though if I would have grown up 10 years earlier in my life, I would have probably been a Celtics fan because of Larry Bird. But my entire life, I have actively rooted against the Celtics. And I hate this team. I do not like Jason Tatum. I don't like a single player on this team. I might like Blake Griffin. Just,
I mean, to be fair, he's Duke, though.
Well, yeah, right. But honestly, that doesn't even come into play. Like, that's one of those funny things. Like, I just don't like the way that he plays basketball. And so I'm watching, and I had this topic locked and loaded for this. I'm watching the game 7 between the Heat and the Celtics, and the Heat just dominate. And I was so happy about 2 teams that honestly I don't really care about. Like, I live in Southern California, yet I have no impact on this. And yet I think that my viewing habits of watching that game had an impact. So my 2 things are, and you can take the same direction. You don't have to do weather. You don't even have to do sports. But those things that we can't control that, like, we actively get angry about. Like, I'm actively angry about weather, and I was actively angry about the Celtics. Like, the Celtics were something that I would listen to a podcast, and someone that was a Celtics fan would go on about them. And I had to stop and just listen to something else. Like, I can't deal with this anymore. And one of my favorite writers, Bill Simmons, is obviously a Celtics fan. And I just, I can't do it anymore. Like, I can't. Like, I don't think Tatum is actually this player that people think he is. I don't think any of this. So, Phil, now you are a huge Razorback fan. And that is one of those things where, I mean, you're just like, I don't know if anyone roots harder for a single entity more than you that I've ever met in my entire life, which I love and I respect it. I mean, like, I respect you for many reasons, but I think the fact that you are just like, I mean, you haven't done this, but it wouldn't shock me if you were like, women's volleyball lost tonight and there's a shit call on the line. I'd be like, that just sounds right. Yeah.
Well, I'm angry about the College World Series at the moment.
Sure, right. As you should be. And so, and I care about that stuff. Like, baseball and things like sports I like and other things. But is there something beyond what your normal interests are? And I don't mean like just normal interest in sports, but a team or something where it makes you weather life and something in life that is meaningless. Sports are meaningless as much as we care about them. Whether it's meaningless. You can't do anything about it. Is there something for you?
For me, my weather one would be group text. Can't stand them. Drive me crazy. I don't care. turn notifications off almost every time they start. And so one of my biggest pet peeves by far is when you wake up and you have like 100 messages on your phone from some group chat thing. So that would be my biggest like pet peeve off the rip.
Yeah, that's a great one. So that is good. I would say, like, for me, that's one of those ones where, like, you get into like a family discussion or like not necessarily it doesn't even need to be a large group of friends. It can be 3 or 4 people. But I'm guilty of this. I am guilty of like probably over texting with things, but I get mad, which is
I do that. I do it one-on-one. I'll just
one-on-one. Yeah,
never not answered text, just one after the other. And it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh to do that to him. But but at the same time, I don't like it when it's come back to me by group texts.
I love it even more.
So that would be that. And then to kind of go off of, that would be kind of like the weather thing for me. I mean, as far as something like a team or something else that, for me, growing up, I would have gone into wrestling. I would have gone with like John Cena. Just was so tired of him. Now I'm okay with him, but I remember just being like so tired of him. I mean, there was so many people that would talk about how he was ruining wrestling, winning all the time. So for me, and the Celtics and the Lakers, I think they're pretty even on their titles, aren't they? Like real close to each other. But like Cena's tied with like Ric Flair. So in wrestling, like to me that's ridiculous. John Cena being tied with Ric Flair. So he's someone that I don't know why, but I was a CM Punk guy and an Edge guy though too. So, but yeah, John Cena would be the like the one that didn't do anything to me, but yeah, I couldn't stand him for a good chunk of my life there.
Wrestling's a good one because that's truly like, it's because it's the script or however you want to look at it. That's a great one. Brenton, what about you?
I'm gonna hop on the group text thing. For one,
sorry.
Yeah. Well, I will say, we have a pretty active group text with you and our friend Ty. But when you get going on Jason Tatum, man, I'm just like, fucking leave it alone, man.
It's over now. It's over now.
I don't want to get into it. Work group texts are like somebody got me on a work text for like Jeans Day, and I came in the next day hot, confrontational. I was like, don't do that. I'm not a group text person. You keep me out of that. That's one strike, and you only get 2. This is intramural. This is intramural slow pitch softball. You get 2 strikes. So I was but I'll be honest with you. I try to not, as much as possible, like let that type of thing bother me, because I find that in the past, like I am that meme of Tobias Fugue, like huddled up in the shower crying, and it says like thinking of that thing you said to that person in 9th grade. Like now,
sure,
And I've done a lot of mental work, and I am medicated for that sort of thing, but I've done a lot of work to try to not let stuff like that bother me, because I will just obsess over just those little things that don't even matter. And so like that's what, when you originally you sent me the topic and it was like things that are outside of your control, it's like, oh man, I've done so much work to not allow those things to even creep in a little bit. But it's unavoidable, especially when it's like dumb stuff. You know what I mean? Like somebody cuts me off in traffic, and I'm just like, okay, well now I'm gonna ride your ass the whole way to wherever.
Yeah, right.
Or stuff like that. But like, as far as like the team stuff go, like I don't really care about teams that aren't my teams. It's the finals. I don't care who wins as long as it's good basketball. You know what I mean? There's certainly teams there's certainly teams that I would prefer to lose. I mean, but the funny thing about that is I've learned that anytime you want a team to lose, or anytime that there's a team that you don't like and you want them to win, the opposite's going to happen. Because like last year, it was like, okay, it's the Yankees take down the Guards in the playoffs, and it's Yankees Astros. I'm like, you know what? I'm rooting for the Yankees because fuck those cheaters, right? Until did I send you that video of the Astros?
The drums at Disney.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
great. That's a fastball.
I just, and then what happened? They got swept, I think, or New York maybe won one game. I don't know, but I don't get as wrapped up in the sports thing as I used to. I will say, the other day, my wife made my kids irrationally terrified of Ronald McDonald.
Ooh.
And it made bedtime a war zone, basically.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty pissed about that. But
I was going to say, I had my buddy when I was younger, and I remember seeing Child's Play, like at the video store. All of a sudden, my buddy couldn't be in the room anymore.
Well, I had my buddy, and I was really into wrestling, and I caved its skull in after about a day.
I like that.
I will say, for me, like I am, I still root from the teams I root for, of course. Like I am very hardcore into the teams. Like I really do care about the teams I root for. But 10 years, I think what was funny is like when I got really into my journalism days, I really tried to be like agnostic as much as possible because you kind of have to be. I mean, it's just like, the goal for me was to cover professional sports at whatever degree, and it didn't work out. It is what it is. So I think there was that time period where I just tried not to be that person and not care. And so I had some time lapse of like a good 10, 11 years where I didn't care. So now I pick a team or something that just annoys me. So it's not every sport. Like honestly, like in the NFL, I don't really care. I root for the Lions. I was rooting for Tom Brady there until he retired.
Well, I hope you're done rooting for the Lions after Jamal Williams.
Well, it sucked, man. That sucked so hard. But I've been a Lions fan since I was like 7 years old. So like, it makes me so mad. But I love Jamal Williams, dude. To pay out.
Yeah.
But all like NFL, I'm like pretty like fine. I guess I probably actively root against Aaron Rodgers, but it's not like hardcore. So for whatever reason, it was just the Celtics and Jason Tatum this year just bugged me so much. And that's when we had talk, I was so geared up because I was like sitting on literally not just the edge of my couch, I was on the edge of my ottoman, actively rooting for the Miami Heat, which I love Jimmy Butler. He's awesome, but I don't really care. And at this point, the finals, just like you said, Brent, I just want it to be a good series. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to impact my life. So that's funny.
I kind of want to see the Heat win because they've an 8 seed that already, this would be quite the win.
Well, and they're just talk about it. I mean, this is going in a different direction, and this is where we get tangential and rambly.
Yeah.
Talk about a team that like anybody who gives a shit about sports should respect the hell out of,
right?
Because they just have no quit in them at all. They're the definition of a team that they play the same whether they're up 5 or down 50.
And they're not just top 10 picks. There's a lot of guys who aren't high picks. Yeah.
Well, what was Bam? What's Bam? I mean, he's got to be the highest pick on the team, right? And he was mid-teens.
Yeah. And for me, Caleb Martin, he played for Eric Musselman. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan.
And like you said, Brent, it's just like if they win, Spoelstra should be MVP. Like, and it's weird to like, say something because it has to be a player, but like, I mean, we're looking at like this era Phil Jackson kind of guy. I mean, this is a guy, I mean, maybe even a different.
I think he's more Popovich.
Popovich or Riley. I mean, there's
I was
a
gonna say maybe
it
Riley.
comes from Riley, and I mean the fact that Riley, I sent that stat, like I posted too, is like he's been involved in 25%. Like that meat, like there's something about Pat Riley that like I feel like is almost underrated. And I know we're at this point now where we're rambling, but like 25% of the NBA Finals has Pat Riley involved.
Maybe it's because whenever they cut to him, he looks like a mafia don, and on Alonzo Mourning looks like it's Hitman.
Yeah, I mean they're 100%. I hope that's actually the case. 100%.
Alonzo Mourning's on the day of your daughter's wedding, I bring to you this gift, Don Corleone.
Well, and this is a future topic of mine, but current, former, just involved in athletics that you just want to hang out with, top 5. Riley's got to be in the top 5. Up there, I would hope most people. I mean, how cool is Pat Riley? I had a post, the other day too, with like just the Lakers back in the 80s, but yeah,
Chuck Daly, Dennis Rodman,
Roland Taylor. How's that? Oh.
You just pick the Pistons. I would not want to hang out with any of those Pistons, other than maybe Rodman. But like that Pistons team was like the biggest bullshit team ever.
John Sally,
baby. Yeah, I hated John Sally. I feel like I would somehow figure out a way to insult John Sally if I saw him in public. I just couldn't have. I can never stand him. He was like an
you could fame him for your murder from before.
Yeah, we spin it back to John Hill. Yeah, we spin it back, and he's the one that committed all those murders. That I initially had nothing to do with. But it was John Sally. So, that was a good tangent, and I love a good tangent. But we'll have you back. I mean,
I hit record, right?
This was.
Okay.
It says you are.
My bad. All right.
Lincoln.
That's weird.
Phil will have you back. The next time we have you back, I think what we'll do is I'll pick the dark topic, and then you guys, and the dark topic for me will just blow everyone away. So we'll be so dark. It'll just be about the color black. It's darker than black. And that's what it's covering, Brendan. So before we just wrap up, any final words about any of the subjects tonight? Any of the subjects, or just plug your own stuff, Brendan? Anything going on? Anything that you'd like to wrap up from this episode?
Let's say China.
That's tremendous.
China.
Glenn, that's really great. That's a whole lot of growth. I really like it. Thank you for doing it. It's pronounced China. And if you want to find me, come to Truth Social.
I may do it. If this doesn't work out, probably I will do it.
I'd like to thank the people. I like them. Great people on both sides. Excuse me. Excuse me. Fake news.
We're a nasty woman.
There's lots of bad I don't know where I was going with that. That was like Braveheart.
Yeah, I got it. Well, that's the thing with Trump. Hate him or that's it.
Excuse me.
I don't know what that accent is. I don't know what that accent is.
You forgot the second part. It's love me, give me all the power, and I don't know what you're waiting for.
I am your savior.
So
we're gonna build the wall.
You can find us holding a Bible up on truthsocial.com. We're there. We're all over the place on Truth Social. There's a picture.
Very lovely platform.
And don't forget Winston, you guys' big presence on Rumbler.
There's a picture of me with both. I got JFK to my left, and I have JFK Jr. to my right, and we're smoking cigars. It's a great photo. It's terrific. It was I don't do a Trump accent. I don't do the.
Find me on Grindr.
But it's great. Yeah, it's terrific. It was happy to be. It was just taken last year. I time stamped it, so it was just happened last year. So you can find us there.
Running for VP any day now.
Any day. What? Just a couple other things. I wanted to like bookend it with our socials. So we also have videos on YouTube. We have some new videos coming at you. On
Allegedly.
YouTube. And yeah, well, if your wife wouldn't threaten kids with Ronald McDonald,
yeah,
jeez. Oh, anyhow.
Yeah, Greg used to have birthday parties at McDonald's when we were young. I remember how the birthday parties being there.
Kicked out of McDonald's and Pizza Hut. Parties for Raucous. That's how it was. We brought it back in the day. Do kids even have birthday parties? They probably still do. And then we also have our other program presented, the BXG Productions, the Nexus, and the video game portion of BXG Productions, Vertical Slice.
Mm-hmm.
You have need to have like a knife sound, or a lightsaber.
I have slashing sounds.
Oh, good.
Word slashings.
I start when I say it here.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't like that. No.
Psycho.
Nope.
Anyhow, Phil, it was an absolute pleasure seeing you on this, and I will see both of you in person very soon.
Yeah, I need to make some adjustments to my RSVP.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to do it now?
Yeah. We'll be celebrating from afar.
You're not coming?
To return some videotapes.
Oh, like that would suck. That would be a big wrench in the whole production.
Would it?
I mean, I just want to see everybody. That'd be a wrench in my.
Kidding. I'm kidding.
So since I have two people actually be at the wedding, I have two things about that. I'm not gonna cry. Yeah.
All right.
You're both gonna be there. I gotta stand for the pod listeners. I'm not gonna cry, but I'm gonna weep. So I hope that people are ready for weep. No, I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna react. I feel like it's gonna be that big come down, big come down. So I'm excited. July 1st, if you're not invited, it's literally public area in Santa Barbara, so you can actually go and walk by it and see it, and you'll see me in my fancy tux that just arrived. I'll be looking sharp as hell, as I do.
The sharpest man.
Yeah, and then also for anyone that's just gonna be in the Santa Barbara area, go and check the Arlington out. Our name, our wedding, all that good stuff will be on the marquee. So just shout out the wedding. That's a not media recommendation, but just there. But I'm excited to see both you in person. That's gonna be just incredible. I'm antsy. I'm excited to marry Janie. We've been together for a very long time. And not to change, it won't change anything, but I'm mostly excited just to see everybody and just have those laughs that only we will understand and people will wonder what the hell's going on. So I'm excited. There'll be plenty of food and beverage and lore. There'll be more lore just to wrap it up. So I appreciate Phil for coming on. Brenton, thank you for being my wonderful co-host and flipping those letters around for us. And that is the annals of our lore. Thank you for watching, even though you're just looking at a YouTube screen with full movements. And also thank you for listening while you're on your fuck girl